to the MMA Fan Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Stu and Blake.
Hello and welcome to the MMA Fan Show. I'm Stu Whiffin. Joining me always is Mr. Blake Harrison. How are you today, mate?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm all right, mate. I'm all right. I'm excited that the listeners have been very forthcoming with questions. So this is a Q&A episode, and you've sent in some ace questions, which Blake and I will be working our way through. Before that, we need to shout out Fat Candy. Sorry, it's not Fat Candy. What is it?
Fat Candy.
Exactly. Some exciting news coming very soon from the team behind Fat Candy. We will keep you updated on that soon. But in the meantime, until you get that news, head over to Fat Candy's website, have a look at all the Super Ace freeze-dried sweets, and use that discount code SWEETMMA to save yourself some money when you check out your little basket. Right. The Q&A
sounds weird,
now.
checking out your little basket. Just checking out my little basket.
Don't come in. Why? I'm checking out my little basket.
Don't checking out my basket. Don't go. I thought the door was locked. I'm sorry. I was just checking out my basket. I was just checking it out. It's nothing. No, just checking it out. I thought that I found there's something there in my basket. Do you think Fat Candy will enjoy that? But please do get your Fat Candy. Checking out my basket. I think we're both a bit tired because we're just like finding that way funnier than it actually should be.
100%. Shall I kick off with a question?
Yes, do, but I just want to say, and I say this every time, sometimes there's not much MMA news going on or a big card to talk about or something like that. And me and Stu have to come up with ideas for like shows. And sometimes we're so busy with stuff that I just go to Stu, do you reckon we could do a Q&A episode so the listeners kind of do after work for us? And you know what? I absolutely love it because you do. And there's some questions on here that I absolutely loved. But I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you that reached out with a question, because not only do I find it interesting to think about your questions and try to answer them and stuff like that, but also you are saving me like ideas.
I mean,
because I haven't got any good ideas for shows.
That's the most important part, isn't it? They're doing all the work.
The listeners are like our chat GPT.
Yeah.
Like we just go, listeners, can you help us? And they go, yes, we can help you now. Here are all the questions you need to make a fantastic MMA show. That's how AI sounds, right?
All right, yeah, I presume so.
Yeah. All right, let's crack on before we get waylaid by nonsense chat again.
All right, well, look, the first question I'm going to throw in the mix today is... comes from Instagram. It's Simon from UK. Simon says, do you think UFC will move to Netflix after the ESPN deal ends?
Ooh, I don't know. I hope so. More than anything, I really hope they go to Netflix solely because I can then just get rid of my TNT subscription.
Yeah, 100%.
And not waste my like. I will subscribe to Netflix probably until the day I die. That is one of those things. Netflix is just, that's there. I have lost all interest in football. And there is nothing else on TNT that interests me at all. So yeah, as soon as they move to Netflix, I'll be saving some money. So I would love it if the UFC moved to Netflix.
My TNT subscription, every time I renew whatever like TV package I use, right, they're like, well, we see you like TNT, blah, blah, blah. If you want to keep watching that football, like, you know, we can do you. I don't watch football. I watch fighting maybe once a fortnight, maybe once a week. And it's like, and that's what it costs. It costs loads. So if it moves to Netflix, brilliant.
Yeah, but I agree. I mean, in terms of the UFC's business model, I don't know if they might do a thing where they spread it out a lot, because there are things like in America, WWE does this. And it's important to note as well, TKO have obviously WWE and the UFC, and WWE is now on Netflix. And as far as I'm aware, they're doing great numbers on Netflix with they don't have pay-per-views anymore. They call them premium live events, the PLEs. And my family's big on it. Like since the move to Netflix, we have started watching loads of WWE. It's like a big hit in our house now. And I can only imagine that's how the UFC can grow. Like, how can the UFC grow anymore? They've got to just shove it in people's faces and put it in their living rooms and make it really easy to grow the brand any further than it already is. And moving to Netflix would be a huge part of that. It would just mean, I don't know what the numbers were for Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson, but we all knew that was a dog shit fight before it happened. And yet it was watched by everyone. And by everyone, I even mean me. Someone that's not interested in boxing, but I knew we would talk about it. If that fight was on DAZN or even on TNT Sport or something, I probably wouldn't have watched it. But because it was on Netflix and it was so easy, I was like, yeah, go on then. I'll watch it. Taylor Serrano 3 is coming up, I think, this Saturday.
I literally saw the advert for that, yeah.
Where did you see the advert for it?
On Netflix.
Exactly. And I'm going, oh yeah, those two fights that I haven't seen. Oh no, I did see the second one. I saw highlights of the second one through Netflix or something. But like, I'm not overly bothered about it. But I'm kind of like, oh, I might watch that actually, because it's so easy, because it's on Netflix. So I think that is what the UFC should do. It'd certainly be nicer for me. But I wouldn't be surprised if they do something where they go, oh, let's do a deal with Netflix, but also let's keep a few pay-per-views or PLEs on ESPN Plus, and that means we can also put it on, TNT or Discovery Plus or whatever in the UK or whatever it is, and they might spread it. I mean, the Premier League does it. The Premier League has it where like some matches are on Amazon, some matches are on Sky, some matches are on TNT, and they spread it out across multiple platforms to just earn the most money they can. So maybe the UFC would do something similar.
Yeah, absolutely. So essentially our answer is, if it saves us a few quid, yes.
Yes, do that. Do what saves me and Stu money, please. Right, what have I got here? I have got... Hang on. Doing this terribly. This is from Josh Beatty. That's 2 Y's. Do you think Ilia Topuria retires undefeated and becomes the first ever triple champ? Or is there someone you think beats him? Personally, I think Islam is a difficult matchup and Paddy is a dark horse. So that's from Josh Beatty. What do you think of that?
I mean, it's hard to say that he will not retire undefeated on his current form as a young, hungry fighter that is looking arguably the most exciting fighter in the UFC, and the people that he's beaten and the way he's done it, it's hard I can't envisage him being beaten at the moment. But fighters get old. So, and then you start seeing all your favourite fighters lose because Father Time catches up with them and there's the next Ilia Topuria is coming through who's, got that hunger. So do I think he retires undefeated? If he retires anytime soon, probably. But, yeah, do I think he'll be the first triple champ? I'm not sure on that one. I'm not sure. I didn't think he looked small last time out. Do I think he beats Islam? I don't know. I worry about the dynamite in his hands, and I think somebody's got to beat Islam. And if anyone's going to do it, yes, I know Arman Sarukian might have been a possibility for that. But I think if anyone does it at the moment with the confidence where, we're talking about the guy that's, having celebratory meals the night before his fight, telling the world, he's the champ the night before his fight and changing his Instagram to that. I think he could be the person to beat Islam. And he also thinks Paddy's a dark horse. I'm not betting against Paddy at the moment, because any time that you think, well, to be honest, Bobby Green's going to box his ear holes off, didn't happen. And you know, Michael Chandler's got that, you know, short, stocky, explosive power and wrestling credentials, and didn't matter.
Do you think that they're comparable to Ilia Topuria?
Paddy's level of competition is very different to Ilia Topuria's level of competition, but Paddy can only beat what's in front of him, and that's what he's done. So I don't know.
So you're not betting against Ilia Topuria, but you're also not betting against Paddy Pimblett. So what are you going to do if they fight?
I just based on what I've seen from Ilia Topuria, I just don't see him losing at the moment. I really can't. What about you?
Well, I think...
Firstly, do you think he'd be a triple champ?
No, I'm going to lean towards no. I think he could. He potentially could. But I'm going to lean towards no. The big thing was, will he retire undefeated? And for me, I think unless he retires at the end of 2026, because he's just like, I've just done it, haven't I? I've just done it all. Then no, there's no way he retires undefeated, because no one retires undefeated unless you leave the game early, like Khabib did. And he left early because his father passed away, and he didn't want him to be in a way of honouring his mother and a promise he made to his mum. He didn't want to fight anymore. But if Khabib had stuck around, eventually someone would get him, because that's MMA. You always get got. Now, some people might say John Jones. Well, yeah, sure. I mean, you could argue Dominic Reyes got him. You could definitely argue Tom Aspinall would have got him. You don't know for sure. But John Jones, okay, let's say he's an anomaly. He is the rare one of one that was, again, not undefeated, because Matt Hamill loss does count. But he was never beaten by anyone other than his own misjudgment in the cage. I just don't think anyone goes undefeated unless you leave early. Yeah. You know, all the greats, you look at Demetrius Johnson, George St. Pierre, it's MMA, man. It's 4-ounce gloves. And in Ilia's situation, size does matter. And I know we've made a joke of it now by putting the clip out on Instagram of me saying, oh, doesn't Ilia look small? Oh, no, wait, he doesn't look small. He's just knocked Charles Oliveira out. But he did look small. And when he's up against Paddy in the cage, I know Paddy hasn't been cutting weight. He did look small against Paddy. And now you then throw in the fact that Islam Makhachev is moving up to 170 and maybe Ilia Topuria will still chase that fight. I think Islam Makhachev is... I think he still could be the best out there at the moment, even with Ilia doing what he's doing. And I think an Islam Makhachev at 170 defending his belt against Ilia Topuria at 170, who looks a bit small compared to some lightweights. There's no way he finishes up undefeated for me, unless he retires very soon. If Ilia Topuria is still fighting when he's 34, there's no way he's undefeated in my eyes.
Yeah.
No way.
Agreed.
Because the other thing to think of as well is he's the champion of the lightweight division. That's not light heavyweight. That's not heavyweight. Both those divisions are pretty shallow. When it comes to lightweight, I think it is the best division in the sport. Talent for talent, it is the best division in the sport. Someone will come through. And that person might already be there, and his name might be Arman Sarukian, and you mentioned that earlier. So, yeah.
Okay, I've got a question there from Jack Coy 1991. What would be the one fighter you would choose to show a non-MMA fan to try and get them into the sport? Do you go for someone who is the best in their division to show the quality of the sport, or someone who is always in a scrap to add an element of jeopardy into the mix? Outside of my wife liking The Ultimate Fighter, none of my mates are into it, and it would be great to get some more of them involved. Good question, mate.
Good question. I mean, for me, there's only one obvious choice.
Go on.
And you get them to sit down and watch loads of Justin Gaethje fights. And it's as simple as that. Justin Gaethje is just like, he's had 14 fights in the UFC. and he's had 14 performance bonuses. 9 of those are fight of the night, and 5 of those are performance of the night. And you're just like, this guy is just, he is the highlight reel. His nickname says it all. He's the highlight reel Justin Gaethje. For him to have 14 fights in the UFC and have 14 bonuses is insane. That is crazy. Don't get them to watch the best of the best and watch, Mighty Mouse or John Jones. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's some great moments with those fighters for sure. Or Khabib or Islam. Just go, mate. Get a load of Justin Gaethje. And how do you not love Justin Gaethje fights? Like another little shout out to Yuri Prohazka as well. Just watching carnage. But to me, it's got to be Justin Gaethje. That is the one. I mean, if you're short on time, if they're like, look, I'm going to give you 6 minutes of my time, then just throw on literally all of Tom Aspinall's fights because they are about 6 minutes long. If you're short on time, but if you're like, come on.
But the reason I chose
give me an hour of your life, then just throw on Justin Gaethje.
The reason I chose Tom was because if you're trying to get people into it and you're going to get to watch Justin Gaethje maybe fight one more time, maybe 2 more fights, it's going to be fun anyway. But I think you can go, this guy is the heavyweight champ and this is how he got there. Like, what on earth is next? And a casual fan will go, oh my God, look at the size of him. Yeah. Look at the size of the guy that he's just knocked out. I think Tom, obviously, Gaethje's highlight reel, he's fucking immense. Win, lose or draw, he always puts on a crazy, crazy fight. I think if you're trying to get people into it now, I think you've got a much more exciting future for Tom Aspinall than you have for Justin Gaethje.
That's a fair point. I was listening to something this morning. Can you just imagine how shit it would be? I don't think this is going to happen, by the way, and I feel bad even putting it out there. Can you imagine how shit it'll be just for everyone if Tom fought Cyril Gane and Cyril Gane won? That would be so shit for everyone.
Why John Jones would,
I don't know, man. John Jones would immediately be coming out and saying, see, I told you, see? And you're like, fuck off, John Jones.
Yeah.
And it would just be so crap if Tom Aspinall lost a fight in the next year or so. It would be so bad, man. I want what obviously all the British MMA fans want. And I think most MMA fans globally want right now. And that's for Tom to just go out there and smash everyone. To the point where maybe John even goes, I sort of have to come back. But I don't think he will. Anyway, let's move on, shall we? Next question. Okay, Felix.Thornton. Since we've been watching Dana's passion for the sport die over the past few years, how long do you think it will be before he finally retires, or more likely is pushed out by the TKO execs? I don't know. I mean, let's just remember, it was only a year and a half ago or whatever it was that we saw a video of Dana White slapping his wife, and the TKO execs were like, "Oh, yeah, it's fine. Don't worry about that. Look over here instead." They don't care. Any other sporting organisation that I can think of, if the head or president of that sporting organisation was seen slapping his wife, and you can say what you want about who might have started it and what went on before and stuff I see on the internet all the time. If any other president of an organisation was caught on video slapping their wife, they would not be in a job anymore. So now we have this situation where Dana is still in the job, and it makes me think there's nothing he can do to make the TKO execs think, yeah, we should get rid of him. I just don't know. I don't know what he could possibly do.
I agree. I mean, he's the face of the brand. He's, everybody knows the name Dana White. Look, obviously I'm not condoning that behaviour, but when it comes to, press and media days and stuff like that. He talks a good game. He's very comfortable in his position. And media facing. He's relatively straight talking, and I think that endears him to a lot of American fight fans and such. And what he's built is really impressive. Make no mistake. He has really built the sport that we adore, and the platform of Ultimate Fighting on a sort of global scale. He has been leading that, and so I'll give him his props there. I don't think he's losing passion for it. I think at the moment, we'll get onto it with the next question. For him, look where that job's getting him. He's walking out into octagons with the president of the United States of America. Love him or hate him, like Dana White was very happy to be doing that. He's sitting next to Elon Musk, and he's taking that brand to ridiculous places, and with the most powerful people on the planet. I don't think he walks away from that. I think, yes, he's got his fingers in other pies, and he's obviously getting involved in boxing and such, and the power slap nonsense. But
see, I think he is losing passion for it. I think
as much as he's got his brands and he's a businessman, I also think he knows what he's essentially defined by, and I think it is the UFC. And I think, yes, he's probably spreading himself slightly thinner, which may appear to be losing passion for the UFC, but I just think he's defined by that role, and I think he knows that to a degree, and I think being the face of that brand has put him in very powerful positions, and I think that is what he loves.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that being in that position has given him an awful lot of opportunities. Like, he's on the board of Meta now, or whatever it is, board of directors of Meta and stuff and as you say, his relationship with Donald Trump and all that stuff, it's given him what I think someone like him desires in terms of money and power and influence and all that kind of stuff. But I do think his passion for the UFC has dwindled, and I think I think you can see that when he does press conferences and different things like a fight promoter. I do think that. I wonder if all of a sudden he is promoting the Canelo Alvarez fight or something like that. We see a really passionate Dana White who's really getting into it. And the fact that, he's at UFC events sometimes and he's talking about Power Slap and the numbers they do on social media, and he's drinking out of his Power Slap cup and all those kind of things. I'm like, I do think you're divided. I think you sort of have not checked out, but your passions are directed elsewhere, and there is only so much time in the day for any human being, even incredibly wealthy ones. So if your attention is divided amongst so many projects, I think that is an indication of losing passion for one. Okay, there you go.
Well, look, with that in mind, let's move on to a question from Steve Smith, 1901. Who would you like to main event and co-main event at the White House? If Conor, would him versus Holloway make sense if he wins against Dustin and make it for the BMF title? If not, Conor, then who? Right, so look, it's been announced that they're going to look at doing a UFC event in the grounds of the White House, which I'm not a fan of Donald Trump and his politics, and I'm not a fan of the UFC doing a show at the White House. But I understand that lots of people that follow this sport do like him and will probably be fucking salivating at the thought that it's going to be in the White House. An insane move for any organisation to have an event in the White House. I don't know if that shows the gravitas of this sport now, or if it just shows how much of a absolute donut Donald Trump is. I don't know. It's one or the other. Steve seems to be alluding to the fact that Conor's fighting on that bill. I don't know. Obviously, there was also rumours floating about from John Jones that he's back in the testing pool, which I just do not even really want to discuss that. It's like, no one cares now, mate. Shut up. Do you think these fighters are going to be salivating also to fight at the White House?
Oh, I think a lot of them will, because as we see with most fighters, whenever Donald Trump's in attendance, particularly the Americans, but even global, non-American MMA fighters, one of the first things they want to do is talk to Trump and jump the cage and celebrate in front of Trump and all this kind of stuff. And look, that's their prerogative. That's what they want to do. Fine. I don't get it, but sure. The relationship between any sporting organization, especially one with, some of the negative aspects that the UFC have, class action lawsuits and other things going on, and not to mention the image of Dana White and his wife that we mentioned earlier in the show. For a sporting organization to then do an event at the White House, it just feels weird to me. I don't like it. It's like, I don't know. It's like the Houses of Parliament are going to host like a football match. What? Why? That's weird. That's I don't know. I don't like it. I don't think it's, it doesn't sit with me. I mean, maybe it's because I do find the relationship between the UFC and Donald Trump slightly insidious and slightly, I don't know, it unnerves me slightly. The fact that like Dana White and the certain fighters or whatever have been talking about training the FBI. And I'm like, well, that to me is just such a conflict of interests when you've got literal lawsuits against the UFC and incidents of illegality with the UFC and some of their high profile stars and stuff like that. And then you're saying, oh, but we'll train the FBI agents. Then how can the FBI be an impartial body and, uphold the law when you're working closely with an organization and a corporation and industry like the UFC? It's the whole thing just feels wrong to me. I feel like it's just it leaves the door open for so much corruption that it makes me really uncomfortable. But
okay,
I don't know, man. Maybe it would just be a fun event. I'd rather them do more stuff at the Sphere. The Sphere was fucking awesome. Do more stuff at the Sphere. Because I'll tell you what, the other thing about doing something at the White House is that is going to be securityed up the wazoo, as the Americans say.
This is what I'm thinking.
Let me just finish that point. Like, it would only be probably 200 odd people in attendance, and it would all be Republican Party members and Donald Trump's mates. It wouldn't be a show for America or for the American people, because again, it would be like, well, we'd have to be so careful about security that it would be like what I heard about the Times Square boxing thing, and maybe I'm mistaken, but what I heard about that was it was very elitist. There was only like a handful of people there by comparison to like arenas and stuff. So, yeah. And I think it would be that. I think it would be like, we've done a show at the White House. Big tick. Look at us. Aren't we amazing? Yeah, but who enjoyed it in person?
Yeah.
Oh, Donald Trump and his billionaire mates and some Republican Party members. Okay, cool. So like the regular people that are supporting that party and are supporting the UFC on a daily basis, do they get to see it? No. Security was too tight. That's how it comes across to me. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's how it comes across to me. And it just feels like a bit of a dick swinging thing rather than anything that would be actually fun, like the Sphere.
It is dick swinging, and I think the whole thing's really gross. But if there's any opportunity to get media passes, we'd love to go.
He ain't wrong, people. He ain't wrong. Oh, say, can you see? All right, let's have another question from Steve _Smith 1901, because this might take a while, but I think we should rattle through this because I haven't prepared a list. So, Steve Smith 1901. Who would your top 5 of all time for each weight division be? This is a long old question, so I think we should just speed dial this one through. Right. And anyone that thinks we've forgotten people, which we may do because we're going to try and do this quickly, just message us on Insta or send us a message on... just fuck off, mate. You can let us know. So, weight classes, right. Straw weight.
Boys. Oh, no, we're going that way.
I was going to go completely opposite. So straw weight. Obviously, Rose Namajunas. I'm not doing these in order, but these are the top 5. Rose Namajunas, Zhang Weili, Joanna Jacek, Carla Esparza, and I can't think of another one off the top of my head. I'm going to throw
Suarez in there, I think. I think Suarez is really...
She hasn't done enough.
Well, who else? Oh, Amanda Lemos.
No.
Right, we're just going to rattle through these, mate. This is what you just said.
Right, we've only got 4 for strawweight. Right, women's flyweight. Valentina Shevchenko.
I've got...
maybe Alexa Grasso.
Shevchenko.
Maybe you can throw Alexa Grasso in there because she has been a champion, so it would just make sense to go... Valentina and Alexa Grasso. Women's bantamweight, obviously Amanda Nunes, Ronda Rousey.
Holly?
Probably Holly and Misha.
Yeah.
Misha take Holly home. That's it, isn't it? Is that basically all the champions as well? I mean, do you put Juliana Pena in there? I don't think you do. Nah. Maybe very, very soon it could be Kayla Harrison. But not yet.
Cyborg.
I don't think she's done in... not bantamweight.
Oh, of course, yeah, of course.
Featherweight, you would go Amanda Nunes, Chris Cyborg. Yeah. So that's the women's divisions. Obviously, we've not got 5 for all of these. Men's flyweight, obviously Demetrius Johnson. Obviously Alejandro Pantoja.
Brandon
Moreno. If you do Moreno, do you have to do Figgy?
Probably.
There's a case for Joseph Benavidez, but it's just that he could never be the champ because Demetrius Johnson was always there. But there's a case for Joseph Benavidez being, just the next best thing to DJ. He just could never make through. I don't think Henry Cejudo, but maybe we're being harsh on Cejudo because he defended the belt once, did he? And that was against TJ when he would drop right down and popped and everything. You could argue he never actually beat DJ, but maybe you throw Henry Cejudo in there. We are doing this quick, as I said. Men's bantamweight: Dominic Cruz, Merab, Sterling. TJ, he has to be TJ. I know he popped, but they didn't necessarily pop whilst he was bantamweight. I don't think you can throw in Cody because of Henan Barao. He went weird though, didn't he? Henan Barao's another one that went weird.
He did, but not for a long time. Not until TJ. And up until then, that guy was terrifying. Absolutely.
Was he on the old Mexican supplements, maybe?
I don't want to comment on that. I would like to disassociate myself from any comment made by Blake Harrison about either that or Australians.
Men's featherweight.
Hang on. Henan Barao. I want to have a look at this, right? Because let's have a look. Let's get his stats up. Because it was crazy. Oh, it did. I mean, obviously, after that, it was a rapid decline. But let me just find his thing.
Should we add some elevator music to this bit? Just
yeah. Jesus Christ. Right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Like just unbelievable unbeaten record. Pickett.
You did all that counting and didn't give us a number. Just unbelievable.
Still going. Uriah Faber, Michael McDonald, Eddie Wineland, Uriah Faber again. It was just literally on a insane roll. And then, oh my God, then after that, lost to TJ, lost to Jeremy Stevens, lost to Sterling, it was just bad after that. Like from 2015 onwards, it was a slippery slope, but from 2005 to 2015, ridiculous. No one was beating him. No one beat him. So I'm going to put Henan Barrow in there. I don't care what you say.
All right. Well, let us know if Stu Whiffen is allowed Henan Barrow in there. Featherweight rankings. Obviously Aldo. Obviously Volk. Obviously Max Holloway.
Conor McGregor.
Do you reckon? Yeah.
I mean, you know, I know.
You say Conor McGregor, like, what are you doing, Blake? How can you not think of that? But there's no way you put Conor in the same league as Volk, Max, and Aldo when it comes to featherweight greatness.
Okay, so another one then. So has Ilia Topuria done enough at featherweight to be thrown in that mix?
Oh, that's a good question. Because, I mean, there's so few champs at featherweight that if you just win the belt, that's probably enough. And the fact that he has a knockout of Volk and Max and is undefeated, I think maybe you do. Maybe you do have to put Ilia in there for featherweight. Yep, okay. I think that's fair. Lightweight, obviously BJ Penn, obviously Khabib, Islam Makhachev has to be in there. I think I'd throw Charles Oliveira as one of the best 5 lightweights of all time. And then other than that, I mean, Tony Ferguson went on that crazy 12-fight run, but he never made it to undisputed champ.
I think Tony Ferguson goes in now.
You reckon Ferguson?
Yeah.
I mean, again, anyone that's come into the sport post-pandemic is like, Tony Ferguson?
Yeah.
What the fuck are you guys smoking? But before that fight with Justin Gaethje, which he lost, he was the boogeyman. He was the boogeyman of the division. Everyone was like, we got to see Tony versus Khabib. And the UFC tried to make it 3 times and it never happened for various reasons. So, maybe it's Tony Ferguson, man. I mean, shout out to Justin Gaethje and Dustin Poirier, but maybe they don't quite make it. I don't know. It's a tricky one. That final spot's tricky.
Okay, I might throw Dustin in there.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame you. I think that's valid. I don't know. Welterweight, Matt Hughes, GSP,
obviously.
Kamaru Usman has to be.
Oh God, yeah, good shout.
Do you do Robbie Lawler as well, just for the fights he gave us? I know his career was a bit up and down, but he gave us too many good fights to ignore him, didn't he? I mean, I've just ignored Gaethje for lightweight, but
yeah, I mean, you've been talking about
Robbie Lawler
the
was
highlight reel.
But Robbie Lawler was an undisputed champion. Gaethje's never been, and Robbie Lawler defended the belt.
Yeah.
So I think you got to throw Robbie Lawler in there. So we got Matt Hughes, GSP, Kamaru Usman, Robbie Lawler. Trying to think who's defended that belt or won the belt. And I mean, I there's a world in which Islam Makhachev or Shavkat Rakhmonov becomes a welterweight great, but they're not there
yet, mate. I don't think you throw Leon.
Does
in the mix
Leon
there.
have a chance of being? No,
not yet. Right.
Does Tyron Woodley? Did Tyron Woodley get in there again? What a decline after he lost the belt.
Yeah,
but he defended it multiple times. Didn't he defend it twice against Wonderboy? One of those was a draw. Defended it against Darren Till. Won it against Robbie Lawler, who was on an absolute tear at the time. Yeah. I don't know. Right, let us know what you think. Middleweight, obviously Silva, obviously Adesanya. I mean, is Drickus already in there with the wins that he's got?
Oh, do you know who I might throw in there? The welterweight. I've just pulled a list up. Going back to welterweight. Obviously, did you mention BJ Penn, right?
Yes.
In that mix.
Not a welterweight. I mentioned him at lightweight.
Oh, okay. I might throw Johnny Hendricks in there just because.
Oh, yeah.
Johnny Hendricks was a fantastic champ to watch as well. Again, insane decline. But yeah, GSP. I mean, Matt Serra obviously got the win over GSP, but obviously that was short-lived. Yeah, let's not overlook people like Pat Miletich and Carlos Newton. But yeah, I'd probably throw Johnny Hendricks in there.
So middleweight. Let's go middleweight. Anderson Silva, Adesanya. Who else at middle? I mean, do you do Dricus? Is Dricus one of the best? I mean, the resume is pretty impressive, isn't it? Is he one of the greatest middleweights of all time already? If he beats Hamzat, he definitely is, in my opinion. But I think he's got to be in the top 5 middleweights, Dricus du Plessis. And then...
Let me have a look.
I don't know, man. Chris Weidman. Weidman, 3 title defenses, and he beat Silva. I think you've got to throw Chris Weidman in there.
Yeah, I mean, do you put Bobby Knuckles in there? Do you put Michael Bisping in there? A lot of British fans
put Michael Bisping in there. He only had 1 title defense, and it was. No, I don't think Bisping's one of the greatest middleweights of all time. I don't think so. So Silva and Adesanya are undeniable. I think then it is Dricus.
I think there's an argument for Rich Franklin as well.
Yeah. Oh. I think I'm going to say Weidman. I'm going to throw Weidman in there.
I mean,
3 title defenses, and he beat Silva twice, and he ended the run for Silva. So I think it was
one of the most insane moments ever.
Light heavyweight. Obviously, it's John Jones.
Yes.
Chuck Liddell.
Yep. I don't think anyone would be mad at that. Hank Aliyev.
No, not yet. No, Alex Pereira maybe. Okay. I'm trying to look through. Obviously, in terms of names, Tito Ortiz, 5 title defenses. Tito Ortiz. I'm just trying to look some stuff up now. Tito Ortiz could be up there. Randy Couture was a 2-time light heavyweight champion. I mean, light heavyweight was the glamour division, wasn't it? Back in the day. Like, you just look at this. Frank Shamrock, Tito Ortiz, Randy Couture, Vitor Belfort, Chuck Liddell, Rampage Jackson, who unified the Pride and UFC belts. Forrest Griffin, Rashad Evans, Lyoto Machida, Shogun Hua. I mean, just unbelievable. Oh, Daniel Cormier.
Yeah.
You've got to have Daniel Cormier. So it's got to be John Jones, Daniel Cormier. I think maybe you have to do... So John Jones, Daniel Cormier. Is it then Chuck Liddell, Tito Ortiz, maybe
and
Alex
Rampage.
Pereira?
Oh,
you'd go Rampage. No, I didn't say Rampage. I didn't put Rampage in.
I'm just looking at the fighters. Yeah, I'm just looking at the fighters that got me into the sport, that were the superstars, and it was Chuck, Tito, and Rampage. And
I think you've got to give props to Alex Pereira, man. Like the fact that he just banged out title defense, and it was knockout.
Yeah.
But yeah, nice time. Definitely Jones, definitely Cormier. I think Liddell and Tito Ortiz are probably the ones, and then after that, you could probably swap out a few people, but I might go Alex Pereira.
Okay, heavyweight, Cain Velasquez.
Yeah, Cain Velasquez. I'm trying to think. Outside of Cain Velasquez, I mean, do you go... Well, Fedor was never in the UFC.
No, so let's keep it to UFC.
You would have to have Fedor, though, wouldn't you?
In mixed martial arts, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. I'm just trying to think.
Right. Stipe, it has to be Stipe because he's got 3 title defenses. He is arguably the greatest heavyweight of all time. So Stipe, and who did you say?
Kane.
Yeah, Cain Velasquez is definitely there. So Cain Velasquez, Stipe. I think maybe Francis Ngannou. He's still the lineal heavyweight champ. He never lost it.
Yeah, I'm going to definitely say Junior Dos Santos.
You reckon? Yeah, JDS.
There's an argument for Frank Mir. I know, fighters, like fans now, probably have not really seen the best of Andrei Arlovski, but he was a terror release day. Josh Barnett was a fucking great.
What you said? Josh Barnett. Like Josh Hare. Josh Barnett.
Yeah. Randy Couture. I mean, Francis Ngannou.
Yeah, like I'm just typed some stuff in here. Randy Couture apparently was a 3-time heavyweight champ. Again, that was before my fandom. But unless I'm getting false information here.
No,
I think the obvious ones: Stipe Miocic, Cain Velasquez. I think Francis Ngannou,
Junior Dos Santos, mate.
JDS, then maybe Randy Couture. Maybe that is the one, Randy Couture. I mean, shout out to Brock Lesnar just for bringing in the pay-per-view numbers. I mean, he did
absolutely
win the belt as well.
Absolutely. Right.
And I don't think it'll be long before Tom Aspinall is on that list. I really
100%,
don't.
mate. 100%. Right, I've got another question. It's from Robbo013. As an Aussie, open bracket, don't hate me, Blake, close bracket. What do you guys think should be next for Volk? Personally, I'd be happy for him to have 1 or 2 more fights and retire at the top. Also, do we think JDM is just going to be told what to do by the UFC, fight Islam, then maybe Ilia, depending on outcomes? Right, okay. Well, let's start with Volk. Like, what do we think should be next for Volk?
I don't want to answer this Aussies question. Move on. And that's not interested in the Aussies, bloody Aussies. No, here's the thing. I hate this narrative a little bit because I had such a lovely time in Australia when I was there.
I love it.
You love it. But I was like, I had such a good time in Australia. And now it's all going wrong. They hate me. Volk should fight Movsar Evloev. That's just what should happen. It looks like the UFC don't like Movsar. They've given him Aaron Pico in Aaron Pico's debut UFC fight coming over from Bellator/PFL. So, yeah, I mean, that's the fight to make, but I don't know if they will make it. I hope they don't make the Yair Rodriguez fight. I've got very little interest in that. We saw it. I think Volk loves to fight too much. He won't retire as champ. I think he will fight a few more times. He'll probably fight more than what most of us want him to because he just seems to love it too much, which is a shame. I really want him to go out on top. Volk's been like my favourite fighter for many, many years now. I love Volk. So, yeah, but I just think he loves the sport too much to go off into the sunset when he's on top. I think, unfortunately, it's going to take a few losses before he hangs up the gloves. Was there another question about JDM on there?
Also, do we think JDM is going to be told what to do by the UFC, which is fight Islam, then maybe Ilia, depending on outcomes? I mean...
Well, look, to just... I'm going to go straight in on this. To just bring up the sole reason that Australia hates me, and I'm going to bring it up again, Jack Della Maddalena is not a star. And he is a great fighter. He is now a champion. He is not a star. So yes, he will do what the UFC tell him to do because he's not. We've even seen people like Alex Pereira have issues with the UFC recently, and Alex Pereira's a way bigger star than Jack Della Maddalena. Ilia Topuria is now a star.
Nothing would make me happier now than just on the side of your screen, a boomerang just come in and hit you on the side of the head.
But that is just it. That is, that is just it. So yes, he will do what the UFC tell him. If they say you're fighting in Abu Dhabi against Islam Makhachev in October, he'll have to do that. And the only reason he can't is if he's injured and he can't defend the belt. And it wouldn't surprise me if the UFC go, well, fuck it, we'll do an interim title then between Islam and, I don't know, Ian Gary or something, or Kamaru Usman or whatever it is. So Yeah, that's the level Jack is at. Jack is at a level where if he can't fight this year against Islam Makhachev, it would not in any way shock me if the UFC put on an interim title fight. That's where Jack is. And Jack's still a fantastic fighter. Got great personality. I like Jack Della Maddalena. I'm the one that started the Dun 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 Jack Della Maddalena song, which I know we all love now and we all sing in the stadiums. So don't come to me like I'm a Jack hater. But that's just the reality of the situation. So yes, he will basically just have to do what the UFC tells him. And by the way, that is 99% of the roster. 99% of the roster have to do what the UFC tells them to do. What else have we got?
Niall P97.
Go on.
A tad cynical, but is the sport now at its lowest point in the last 10 years? With stars retiring, the UFC keeping costs low, and the refusal to entertain the idea of a Bernabeu event.
Do you know what that is?
No, do you?
The Bernabeu is Real Madrid's ground. A Bernabeu event.
Okay, right. So UFC Spain.
What did you call it? The Bernabeu.
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 I don't know. Look, I don't follow football. We've established that. Is it a fair opinion in 2025? I mean, I do believe that, I imagine getting these events on in, new countries and things like that must be difficult. The logistics of such must be really tricky. And Ilia Topuria being the star that he is, I do believe it's just a matter of time before he will want to fight in Spain. And I think, if that, did you say it was Real Madrid's or Barcelona's grand?
Real Madrid.
That would be epic, wouldn't it? That would be absolutely incredible.
It would be. Here's the thing. The UFC at the moment are doing so well financially going to different places in the world because those people pay them a site fee. Whenever they come to, I don't know, insert random American state here or... probably I would assume the O2 in London and stuff like that. Those places are paying them money to put on a show there. They're paying them a site fee of like £6 million or whatever the hell it is. And so the UFC are not going to forego that money to go to the Bernabeu just for Ilia Topuria. I just don't see it happening. Unless Ilia becomes just a mega star, then I just don't see that happening. They didn't do Croke Park for Conor, and no one has been as big as Conor. And they didn't do Croke Park for him. So why are they going to do the Bernabeu for Ilia Topuria? I just don't think they are. They're just not. Dana likes arenas. He likes things that are indoors. And he likes getting paid to go to places and put on a show rather than the Bernabeu saying, yeah, you can put on a show here and we split profits and we do this and do that. He's going to go, no, you pay me to come to your town because we're the UFC and we're bigger than anyone else. So I don't see that happening. In terms of the loss of stars, look, we still have some really great characters and fun fighters in the UFC, but I think... Niall P97 is correct in saying that they're all sort of on the way out. They're that bit older when you look at Dustin and Justin and Max and Charles and obviously Conor, but he's kind of gone. Jones has gone. Alex Pereira's old now. Israel Adesanya's kicking on a bit. Volk, all these people. You've only really got Ilia Topuria, and I think some of the shine has gone off of Sean O'Malley since he's lost twice. So, yeah, I do think that they're lacking stars. And I think one of the things is they do I think
Hamzat's a star.
Yes, Hamzat is a star. You're right. Hamzat is a star. But...
And I think Tom Aspinall will be a big star.
Yes, I think Tom Aspinall will be as well. You're right. But I do think that they don't have as many. I mean, Masvidal, they don't have as many as they used to. Nate Diaz, they used to have a lot of names that people really cared about and had an emotional connection to. I don't think that's the same anymore. I don't think there's as many. And I think it's partly because of oversaturation. There's too many cards. There's too many contender series fights. There's too many cards filled with contender series contract winners where you go, who's this guy? Who's this guy? And it also lessens the caliber of the competition in the sport. When you're watching the first few fights of particularly fight night cards now, you're going, this could be a Cage Warriors fight, or this could be a LFA fight in America, or whatever the local kind of promotions are stateside and stuff like that, because they've taken on cheaper fighters to fill out the roster with like 12 and 12 fighters. There's $12,000 of win and show money, if anyone doesn't know that. And they're filling it out with those people and then getting rid of people that are on like 70 and 70 or something like that. And yeah, I think it just lessens the level of MMA that you're watching on a weekly basis within the UFC has probably decreased over the last 10 years. And on top of that, I know the uniforms have been going for a long time since the Reebok days, but there's less personality when you throw on your UFC event now. GSP used to come down to the ring in a full gi. Liddell had the Iceman shorts. Rampage Jackson had the chain around his neck.
Israel Adesanya's ring entrances.
Yeah, I mean, he still probably does get to do stuff like that if he wants to. He's one of those rare standouts of people that get to do it. But I remember Michael Venom Page saying he had a great idea for his debut fight in the UFC, and the UFC said, no, we're not letting you do that. So people's creativity is being stifled by the UFC Venom uniforms and previously the Reeboks uniforms and stuff like that. Fighters look very similar to each other. And it didn't used to always be that way. So, yeah, I think those are all the reasons that maybe we are seeing. Also, the UFC don't have the same motivation to put on banger after banger. Like, don't get me wrong. There's been some great cards over the last few years. Obviously, notably UFC 300. And I think some of the cards leading up to that, like 298, 299, I vaguely remember being bangers as well. So the UFC still does put on great pay-per-view events, but they're not as motivated as they used to be, I don't think, because the structure of pay has changed where, they rely on or don't rely on pay-per-view money like they used to. They used to be like, if people don't buy this, we get way less money. It massively affects us. Nowadays, ESPN pay them a flat rate to put their pay-per-views on ESPN Plus, which is a subscription service attached to ESPN in America. So when the UFC hits only 200,000 pay-per-view buys, it doesn't matter because ESPN are giving them a flat rate. And then if they go over the, let's say for rounded figures, it's a 500,000 pay-per-view buy figure, then they'll get an extra bump. But they're getting their flat rate every time, so they don't care. And every time they move into a random territory in America or wherever for a fight night, they break like the all-time gate record with very basic fights. Like I remember Derek Lewis versus Rodrigo Nascimento in somewhere like Texas or wherever it was. And it was like, oh, that's broken the all-time gate record. And it's probably been broken since by two relatively obscure fighters because the star now is the UFC, not the fighters. You're not going, I don't think anymore, or a lot of people aren't going to an event to go, oh my God, so-and-so's fighting this person and this person fighting this one. Look at how amazing this card is. Let's go and watch that card. I think people are going, especially casuals with a bit of money in their pocket, going, oh, we don't really watch much UFC, but we catch it every now and again. Oh, the UFC's in town in a couple of weeks. Should we get some tickets? They're like 200 quid each, but we'll go anyway because, why not? When we ever go to a UFC event again, let's go do it. And then they go and do it, get pissed, have fun. They don't really know many of the fighters, but they see people hitting each other and that's what they want. So yeah, that's my rant about that. I don't know if that's made a lot of sense or if it's even
absolutely,
accurate, but it feels right to me.
Look, we've been going well over an hour now, and we've still got quite a lot of questions to work our way through. So perhaps we could do some more questions on another episode. But is there any other questions that you want to sort of finish on? Because I've got one I'd like to finish on if you have. Well,
you go for that then. Go for what you want to finish with.
Right, so this is from Maximus Andrews, who writes, who headlines the next fight night in London? With Tom being undisputed, it couldn't be without a pay-per-view on US time zone. Paddy is potentially next for Ilia. Leon is on a skid, and the last event was terrible. Open bracket, I was there, close bracket. So who has the star power to headline? For me, maybe Arnold versus Lerone. I agree with a lot of what he said there. I do think that Tom, I don't think his first title defence will be in London. I think it's going to be something big, and obviously I presume that will be in the States. If what we're seeing at the moment from all the fallout of Ilia's last fight, if that's against Paddy, I don't think that happens in London. I don't think Leon headlines another London card at the moment. I think he needs another win somewhere else before he headlines a UK card. So who does that leave? Does that, the ranked British fighters, correct me if I'm wrong, it's Arnold and Lerone, isn't it?
You are missing out someone that I think could easily headline a London card.
MVP?
Yes.
Okay.
I think MVP's got a fight against Jared Cannonier coming up soon. I don't know where Jared Cannonier is ranked, but I imagine he's ranked relatively highly. Let me just check this out. Jared Cannonier is ranked 7th in the middleweight division. If Michael Venom Page gets ranked in the top 10 at middleweight, I mean, he could be one away from a title shot. You got Carl Borrello fighting Nasruddin Imavov in September in Paris. Strickland's lost to Dricus twice. Hamzat is about to fight for the belt. Adesanya
he's
has
calling
lost
for
to
Strickland.
Dricus.
He's all of the press I'm seeing this week is he wants that rematch.
Whittaker's lost to Dricus. So if MVP can get a win against Jared Cannonier, I think he could fight Strickland, Izzy, Whittaker, the loser of Barral versus Imavov. And if he wins that fight, that's it. Boom, title shot for MVP. Give Dricus fresh blood. And that to me makes a lot of sense. So if you've got, I don't know when the Cannonier fight is. I imagine it's coming up relatively soon.
Yeah.
If MVP, I know I want to see MVP being active because he's on a clock. He is older. But if he waits till March and headlines against a Sean Strickland or a Rob Whittaker or a Carl Borrello or a Imavov, if they've lost their last fight, Imavov maybe makes a lot of sense because he's Parisian. Is he Parisian? French. He's French. But that would make an awful lot of sense to do that. MVP versus Nasruddin Imavov. MVP wins, he's getting a title shot. Headline in London in March. On the undercard or co-main event, you've got Lerone versus Arnold. I'm still not happy with that fight because I love them both and I don't want to see them fight each other. But it does make sense to make that fight in terms of rankings and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I mean, that would be a great card. That would work really well. And I still don't think you can dismiss Leon headlining a card in London. He's still one of the biggest stars this country has. I think Paddy and Tom are now pay-per-view. They are not fight night guys anymore for the time being. But Leon, I think, could headline another card in London easy. Just because he's lost a couple doesn't mean he can't headline.
Yeah. Okay.
So shall we leave it there?
I think so. And maybe, if we find a bit more time at some point over the next few days, we'll try and get back to answering all the other questions that you lot kindly sent in. I hope all of you that sent in the questions are happy with your answers. If you don't agree with our takes, by all means, jump on the Instagram, jump on the TikTok and let us know your thoughts. Be nice, though. Unless you're Australian, you've got every right to be really mean to Blake Harrison. Right, thanks everyone for listening or watching. Head over to Fat Candy, get yourself some sweets, use that discount code SWEETMMA, and we will be back next time.
Bye.